Welcome to the Voice of Oneness, your call to awaken. This show is your call to awaken to the truth of your being through the teachings of the Voice of Oneness, spoken by Aumara. On this show, you will receive spiritual guidance and the teachings of oneness from the heart of spirit directly to your heart, along with the tools and techniques to apply these teachings to your day-to-day life. Tuning in each week, you will grow in a deeper, richer understanding of your true nature as teachings are offered about universal spiritual laws that govern our lives. You will learn the right use and application of these laws to achieve the richest life from the perspective of experiencing abundance in all areas of your life. Aumara is a renowned psychic, spiritual teacher, coach, energy healer, mystic, and gifted visionary who taps into the higher realms to join with the vast collective of source energy. Now, your host of Voice of Oneness, Aumara.
Hey, welcome friends. Good evening. Thank you for joining us here on the Voice of Oneness, your call to awaken podcast. I am Aumara, the presenter of the Voice of Oneness. And I am so glad that you've joined us by listening to your call to awaken here on this podcast. Whether you're joining us live or you're watching the replay, as always, I encourage you to use the comment section. Put a comment there. Let us know where you're watching from, any question you may have, anything that you want to share, anything that's going on. Feel free to put it in the comments. And Courtney, good evening. How are you? Good to see you. You always come on with such a spark of energy. I love it. I love it. Thank you for your presence. So tonight, before I begin, and I'm being prompted, and when I say I'm being prompted, it's a feeling that I get. Hello from Boston, Sylvia Gardner. Hello, welcome. Bonnie Boggs, Topeka, Kansas. Hello, good evening. Yay. Thank you for chiming in, all of you. I so appreciate it. A warm welcome to you. And I'm being prompted. And when I say I'm being prompted, once again, it's a feeling that I get. And it kind of comes, the thought comes over and over again. It's not leaving. So that's for me is a prompting. And it's a prompting to say, okay, the purpose of this podcast. Now, it's the teachings of oneness. So for most people, they might say, we understand what oneness is. What is it all about? So the teachings of oneness, back in 2006, 2007, I was doing some automatic writing, and it was something that I did at that time. And I was asked at the time by an energy that came through and that had such a beautiful presence to it and started to have a dialogue with me. And we spoke for a while, several months. And then I was asked, would I be interested in teaching the voice? And would I be interested in presenting the teachings of oneness? And this was from a vast collective. And I know some that are involved in it from the other side, some from spirit, some from source. But we never mention any names. And the reason that we don't mention any names, and I was asked not to, is because it wasn't from the inception. It wasn't about the messenger. It was about the message. So it wasn't about who is speaking, so we can get caught up in the who. It was about listen to the message and feel. Because as we go into the teachings of oneness, it's all about feeling. It's about learning how to interpret your own inner guidance, how to work with your own feeling. Luana, hi there. Welcome. How to work with your own guidance, how to experience you. See, it's all about you. It's not about me. It's all about you. Each and every being listening, it's all about you. It's about your experience of you. And that's what the teachings of oneness is about. It's about the return to oneness, the expansion of consciousness, the right understanding of the true nature of that which we are. And back in 2007, we started off kind of, teaching different, acceptance, self-love. And it started to then take a shift. And we spoke about the shift of the ages back then in 2010, and we're still speaking about it today. But when I look back and I reflect, because I've got a room full of yellow legal pads, I reflect on it and I look, oh, wow. It was coming through at that time in preparation for where we are today. And of course it is. That's the way that the energy flows. But it's to help us navigate where we are now. Because where we are now is at a point of the greatest possibility for the expansion of consciousness that we've had thus far on the planet. So, as we are working in the direction of the expansion through our choice and through the seeking that we all are doing when we're listening to the teachings of oneness or reading a book on spirit, some spirituality, or listening to another teacher, we are seeking. We're seeking. What are we seeking? We're seeking that feeling inside that says, oh yeah, this makes sense. Oh yeah, I understand this. Oh yeah. And then it sparks within you your own experience, and you start to expand in your own consciousness, and then it grows from there. So the purpose of this podcast is the expansion of consciousness so that we move towards the unified field of love. We move to a unity consciousness from a separate consciousness to a unified field of consciousness. And that's important that I say that. And I say that when I speak to the collective, and I named them the Voice of Oneness. They didn't tell me their name was the Voice of Oneness. I named them the Voice of Oneness back in 2007 because I needed a name. And when I said I was going to be the teachings, because you're looking at me, the physical being, I'm part of that team. I came to realize, and I'm always growing in a deeper understanding of what that means. And I'll explain that in a moment. But back then I needed a name. So I said, okay, we're teaching oneness. How about the Voice of Oneness? And they said, you like that? And I said, yeah. They said, okay, that's fine. So I went ahead and I used that from that moment forward as the name for the team, of which is the stream of consciousness that I receive. Now, back in the first podcast, when I was talking a little bit about myself and my experiences since childhood and all the things that went on, I spoke of an experience I had in playing a game called Trivia Pursuit with my parents, and my husband and I am against my parents. And I picked the card, and the card was, what is the name of the soccer player who was named Pele? What was his real name? And all of a sudden it rolled right off my tongue. It just popped out like boom. And today I can't even remember that name. But when it popped out at that time, and my mother was a very competitive game player, she almost jumped across the table and wanted to strangle me and called me a cheater. She said, there's no possible way you could know the name of Pele. It's impossible. You had to cheat. You had to read the card ahead of time. You cheated somehow. And I sat there just looking at her, but at the same time within myself thinking, what just happened? Like, where did that come from and how did that happen? Now, I've had a slew of psychic experiences prior to that. I'm always connected. I'm always doing different things. But it was the way that it flowed so freely and easily, and just at the precise moment, just boom, the name was there. And then I said, that's the stream of consciousness. That's how it comes to me. So when I try to explain to somebody, they say, well, how do you know who you're talking to? How, explain to me how I could go about learning how to do this. For me, and it's my experience, and I know others have their own experience, but it's my process. I know that I know I have a knowing. Most of the time, it's just a stream just flows through, and I can feel it and sense it on a very subtle level. And it will be a clearer understanding, a more broader perspective than I have typically. So that's how I know that it's connecting as well, if that makes sense. So it's connecting to another aspect of me that is in the higher realms, and that's able to have the free flow into this body here and speak, to connect to the other aspects of consciousness, which is all of you, to connect within you in resonance with you if the information is for you. And how do you know it's for you? Because you get a sense of feeling, as I said, oh, this feels right. Yeah, I get it. Oh, yeah. And it leads you to, oh, now I understand. And you start expanding. That's how you know it's for you. If you're listening and it doesn't feel right to you, then I suggest you stop listening. Go to another channel. Don't waste your time because you're not getting from it anything that's benefiting you. You've got resistance to it then. It's not open and receptive. And those are the things that we're going to talk about a little bit later tonight is acceptance and resistance. We have resistance is we're allowing, and then acceptance is the opposite. I mean, resistance is the opposite of acceptance. And we're going to talk about those. So I stream the consciousness. It's constantly flowing to and through me and everything that I write, all that I speak, all that I do. Years ago, when I first started streaming the consciousness through, I started off, I was a school teacher in a public school by day, and by night, I was in my home holding group sessions to people that came to my home, and I just start speaking, and we called it at that time channeling. And we said, okay, this is the channeling of the voice of oneness. And I had a process I had to go through to feel more relaxed. As a human, we have to first get relaxed in a situation before we can start to flow in the energy with the energy. And I'd have to close my eyes and I'd sit in my chair and I'd have to sit relaxed for a few minutes and then just start speaking. And then we'd start the night with a meditation, and it was very deep. It was very deep meditation. And most of the time, the room could be, filled with like 10 people. And we'd have the meditation, and then I'd look around at everyone, and they were almost asleep. It was so deep. And then we'd start the actual teaching and question and answers. And it was great. And I did it from my home for a while until it grew to where I had to get a space outside of my home. And then I went and got an office in California, and I set it up as a healing and learning center. And then I used that center for years until I moved from California to Sedona. And then when I was in Sedona, I actually took a bit of a different turn. I went to work at a very large psychic center, famous one in Sedona called the Center for the New Age. And it's a very large center where there's usually about 15 readers present at any given day to do readings. So there's a lot of people constantly flowing in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. So we were doing readings all day long, every day, to a constant stream of people. And I did that for a while. And then I said, you know what, I want to try something different. And then I went and I had a friend who had a UFO tour company. So I became her tour guide. By night, I was the UFO tour guide. And then by day, I did actual spiritual teaching and I did some vortex tours during the day. And that was fun and that was exciting for a while. And then I got the calling within me from the team that says, okay, now you've played, now come back. It's time now to come back and to focus on the teachings of oneness. And that's when I let that go. And now I'm currently focused more in the area of the teachings of oneness so that we can assist everyone who's ready and who's available to receive and is receptive to expand their consciousness, to become a true beneficial presence on the planet through the understanding of the true nature of that which we are. So in this podcast, I will always use the term God. And I know that some people, that's a sore spot for some. And I understand that and I acknowledge it. But I say that when we are opening to that which we are, and we're moving into oneness, oneness is devoid of separation. It simply is. We are one. We don't have boundaries. We don't have separation. We have oneness. And when we're in that state of consciousness, that awareness, we've evolved to a point where we are expressing the energy of which we are in the field of love. We're accepting that which we are, knowing that we are all one. And that grows in understanding as we expand our consciousness. It takes on new meaning for us, each one of us individually, because we are all emanations of the Creator. We are all, each and every one of us, no matter how we're behaving in the world, are an emanation from the Creator. We are all one slice of the whole, having an experience, a human experience, a sensory experience. We're experiencing life, which is the expression of consciousness in a wave form, in a wave form. And we're doing it with a physical body. We need the five senses. And we always want to go beyond. Let's go beyond. Let's do metaphysics. Let's go beyond. Let's go beyond the five senses to the six senses. And let's go beyond the third dimension and go to the fifth dimension. We always want to go beyond. But before we can go beyond, we got to look at where we are right here, right now. What are we experiencing right here, right now? Right here, right now, each and every one of us listening, tuning in to my voice at this time or later on the replay. If I ask you the question, what is it that you know with absolute certainty? Absolute certainty. What do you know? No, we can say, well, we know our job, whatever our career is, our job that we're doing, we know how to do it. We're getting paid for doing it. We know how to do it. And that's one thing. But that's not absolute certainty. What do you know with absolute certainty? And if we were to drill that down, and I don't want to take a whole long time doing it, I'm just going to say with absolute certainty, we know that we're here. We know that we're aware of listening to the voice. We know that somehow we're experiencing life. We are present in awareness. So we've actually come from a stream of consciousness, just like the stream of consciousness comes to me. We're coming from that stream of consciousness, streaming to the body of which you are present within, and you hold awareness of the body and being present. Somebody taps you on the shoulder right now, you're going to feel it. Oh, it's a physical sensation in the body. I become aware of the tap. I become aware that I'm physical. I become aware that I'm here. And then we could look at, okay, when we lie down at night and we enter the dream state, we're no longer aware of our physical body. We're aware of the fact that we're experiencing consciousness. We're having experiences, and we can recall them when we wake up and we recall what we dreamed about. We've had experiences, and we believe that that's a dream state. That dream state is just as real as our waking state, because this waking state can be called a dream state as well. This waking state that we're experiencing, this life, is a compilation of memories from the collective soup of humanity, of everyone on the planet at this time, and those that have been on the planet, our ancestors, as well as those on other planets in other galaxies. So for some, that could be a bit mind-blowing. But we say, well, remember, oneness knows no boundaries. There's no separation. We are all one. We're all in consciousness. We're all part of the one mind. But we're having individual experiences because we're individuated aspects of the whole to experience life as the whole. So that's what we're living here. So now we've got our experiencing of life going on, and we've got a world in which we live in that's really speeding up. And there are many, many, many things going on. Highly, highly charged energy. We can all agree on that. It's highly charged energy, highly polarized. And it's an energy that's very polarized. And most people, when they're in that polarized energy, unless they hold an awareness, they've developed an expanded consciousness and hold an awareness of what's going on, they get caught up in it. They get caught up in the spin, and they start to take sides because this energy is causing division. It wants separation to prevail. It wants us to be separate and to turn in against one another, because that's the way that this energy succeeds in controlling the population on the planet. It's been doing so for a very, very long time. We just have not been aware because things were not falling apart like they are now. Now it's front and center and we can't escape it. What's happening in the world is a reflection of what's happening inside of each and every one of us. There isn't anything that's happening in the outer world of effects that does not have its origin in the inner world inside of us. Everything has its effect in the outer world. The outer world is the world of effects. That's why it's many times referred to as the world of illusion, because that's not your truth. That's what we're working through as individuals, as we are working to release separation. We're working towards unified consciousness, the unified field, the oneness. And we're all at different levels of awareness, different understanding. And we're all growing at different rates. We're having experiences. And we're learning. And we're coming more aligned with the Creator. And that's why I use the term God on this podcast, to represent the allness, all that is. That is what I call God. The Creator, infinite intelligence, source energy, love, nature, under many names, same energy. There's only one source that created all. We can give it any name we choose, like I named the consciousness, which is part of that source, the Voice of Oneness. My choice to do that, and it was fine. It was accepted. Sure, that works. Use the Voice of Oneness. I could have named anything and it would have said okay, more than likely. But that was for me. I needed to name it the Voice of Oneness. So for some of us, we need to call that source Creator, Prime Creator, infinite intelligence, law, nature. Whatever we need is fine, as long as we accept that that is our choice, our decision based on our need, and not rally against and hold resistance to the name God. If someone chooses the term God to describe the same exact source energy that another is calling source or infinite intelligence, it makes no sense and does not benefit anyone to rally against that and say, no, can't go there. You can't use that term. You've got to use what I say and do what I say. And we say, okay, if that works for you, that's your choice. And that's where you stay. Because understand, in that moment, you are not in acceptance. You are in resistance. Acceptance expands. Resistance contracts. So when we want to expand our consciousness, that's when we're growing. That creates and sets up inside us an excitement, Oh, what I want to see what's coming next. I want to grow. I want to grow. I want more information. I want to connect deeper, deeper, deeper to that which created me. This is what I choose. This is what I want. But yet, I'm not accepting that someone else is choosing to call this same source by a different name. So I caution everyone to really ask yourself, in all that you do, where are you in your consciousness? How are you playing this game of life? As we teach of oneness, and we teach that everything is from within, just as Jesus the Christ taught that the kingdom of heaven is here, it's now, it's within. It's not without, outside of us, it's within us. And we experience it based on the energy of which we are expressing, that which we are giving forth to the field around us, that which we are claiming to be ours, is then impressed upon the field. We'll call it the field. And that creates the reality. So we've grown a lot in recent years with the movie The Secret. Became such a Hollywood production and reached so many people and touched so many people who became aware of something called the law of attraction. Oh my gosh, there's a law of attraction. There's a lot more laws than the law of attraction. The first law is the law of oneness, and all laws have sprang forth from the law of oneness. First and foremost is to understand that we are all connected and that everything we do impacts the whole. Everything. We're either adding to in our expression of love, or we're adding to the expression of fear at any given moment of our life experience, each and every one of us. So it depends on what we're choosing. But the law of attraction is so exciting as people become aware and they start to enter into the practice of it. They start to feel empowered. Empowered. I can study that my thoughts are things and that my thoughts create my reality. Oh my gosh. Up until that point, without that knowledge, we're experiencing the lower energy. We're experiencing victim consciousness. We're experiencing that I am the way I am because of, not that I created, but it's because of someone or something else. The life I'm experiencing is because of, not that I created it. These people that are in my life, that are wrecking my life because of the things that they do and the energy that they have, I can't grow because of their negativity. And we say to you, really? Is that what you want to continue to experience? You get a choice here. For if your answer is no, that's not what I want to experience, then how about we look at that, we examine it? How about we look at what you pay attention to is where your energy goes. If you're believing that someone around you is stopping your growth because of their negativity, then yes, your growth is stopped because you have chosen that belief. Not because of the action of another, but your belief about the other. We say it again. It's not the energy of the other that stops your growth. It's your belief about the other that stops your growth. So, since it's inside of you, if you were to say, okay, let me begin placing my attention on the belief that I have within me the power to experience the life that I desire. And I begin to work with this and grow this. I plant this seed in the garden of my mind and I tend to it. I tend to it with conscious awareness that I am in the process of growing a new experience. I'm in the process of expanding my consciousness. And I begin to affirm my goodness. I begin to study the law of attraction. I begin to study the law of manifestation. I begin to study oneness. And now I find myself experiencing life in an expanded state of consciousness. Because I chose to move in that direction. I chose in that moment to accept that my belief that I was not able to change my situation because of another person's energy, I chose to accept that my belief held me to that. And once I accepted that, I no longer have resistance. Now I'm open to the field. I'm open to experience from a different perspective. And then the energy shifts. And I start to receive thoughts that are in likeness, which is the law of vibration. Like energy always attracts like energy. So if I examine that and I say, okay, if I'm holding myself and believing that I can't grow spiritually because of the people around me, because it's my environment, it's those around me, they have this negative energy. And I say, if I believe in the law of vibration, and I believe that like energy attracts like energy, and I look at my situation, then it's telling me that my energy is in likeness to the environment of which I am within. So if I'm not liking my environment, it is for me to choose to up-level my energy, to shift to the positive expression of love. Love is, always has been, and always will be the answer. That's not a catchphrase. That simply is a truth. Love is and always will be the answer. When we are suffering in life and we keep banging our head up against, the walls, so to speak, it's because we are caught in our mind. We are not within our heart. We are love, created by love, as love, to experience love. That's what we are. That doesn't mean that's what we're experiencing all the time. We are growing. We are learning. We are expanding. We are coming out of the acceptance of separation. And we're moving into a unified field of consciousness. And as more and more of us make that shift, it becomes available to more and more. It up levels the whole because we are one. As we evolve, we increase the energy, the frequency on the planet increases. Somebody who is fully aware of their true power, that is in alignment with oneness, and we call that ascended masters, or masters of the physical realm. Their energy impacts many, 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 many people. Could injure hundreds of thousands, even million souls. So the more that we have that come into that awareness, the more of us that experience that energy. And that energy is a calling to open up, a calling to return to love, a calling that's inside of each and every one of us. It's innately there. We all have the return to oneness inside of us. We all know that's our natural state of being. Then we ask ourselves, we know when we feel that we are receiving positive energy. We know when we are in loving relationship. And we know when we are not. It does not feel good. And we seek to feel good. Whether or not we're equipped to bring that about in our life experience in a productive way is a whole nother story. Some of us, we seek to feel good and we want to feel good, but where we are within our awareness and what's happening in our life at the time, what we have available to us is the outer world of effects, and we seek to participate in things of a lower frequency, which would be alcohol, drugs, and other forms of addiction. And it's not because we're bad. We're not bad. No one's bad. That's what we have available to us, and it creates a temporary sense of high, a temporary sense of connecting to the feeling that we're yearning for, which is the return to love, the return to oneness. And it's the best that we can do in the moment. And no one ever stays in the lower frequency. We all evolve because we are love. Love is life affirming, ever expanding, ever evolving. And that's who we are. So we get to experience life. We get to experience being down. We get to experience oppression. We get to experience prejudice. We get to experience the miscreations that we make as a collective and as individuals. That's our right to experience that. And no one's to take it away from us. It's our right. But when we listen to the calling within us and we start to claim our divinity, then we're on course. And the more and more we stay within that, the stronger and stronger we become. And the more and more we are a beneficial presence on the planet. And we help to uplift all of humanity and help to heal the rift in the collective consciousness. We help to heal that separation. I hope I'm making sense. I'm hoping this is helping. So that brings to the power of acceptance. The theme for tonight, to accept. And if we think about the word accept and we ask ourselves, what does it mean to us to accept, to welcome, to embrace, to be obedient to? Now, obedience is a word that has connotations to it, has a charge to it. And some people step back because they don't want to be obedient. They're thinking that they have to be dutiful or obedient to someone else and not have their own freedom. It means that I'm obedient to my divinity, that I understand that that's who I am. in my natural state of being. I'm accepting that I am divine. I'm accepting that there is the Creator which created me. I'm accepting that that Creator is always with me, is within me, around me, and moving through me at all times. For the Creator is in all of creation. We're experiencing this life, and it's an experience of which we have within our own mind. And we are under the illusion that those around us are experiencing life in the same way. And they're not. They're not. Each of us, when we look out into the field and we have others around us, other family members, even your spouse, your partner, colleagues, you look at the person and you have thoughts about the person. You're processing information in the form of thoughts, energy. We're all energy. Everyone's energy. We're all vibration. We're all in motion. And you're processing thoughts about the individual. And as you're doing that, you're creating the story of who that individual is. And you're believing that you know the person. You're believing that you know how the person feels, how the person thinks. You're believing that you know how they're going to behave. You're believing that you know those around you at the deepest level. When we are in tune with the oneness, we do, because we know that we are that love. But when we are here on the earth and we're having our human experiences, we have our human nature. We're working through the limitations that we've accepted about ourselves. We're working through the lower energies to release them, to make room for the higher energy, to start playing in the higher field of energy. We do not know anyone from their perspective. We know what we believe about someone. And many times people will say, oh my gosh, I was blindsided by this individual. Maybe it was a spouse and you were married for a number of years and you thought that you knew the person until one day that person seemed to change. And you go, what happened? I thought I knew you. Where did you go? They were there all along. But the story that we had of who they were does not fit anymore because they're making different choices. So it's our perception of someone that we experience. That's why we can never fix someone else. We think we can because we're always trying to, because we're working with that story that we hold about who the person is. Oh my gosh, they're so unconscious. If they would just listen to me, I could help them. I could help them become more aware. I could help them rise up into the shift. I can help them awaken. Oh my gosh, if they would just meditate. And we have all these thoughts about how we can fix someone. And none of them are true. We can't fix someone because they don't exist in the perception that we have of them. They're experiencing life from their perspective. And it doesn't necessarily match ours. And when we realize that and accept that, we begin to accept one another as divine beings having a human experience. A beautiful thing happens. We find ourselves with the capacity to be more compassionate. We find ourselves with the capacity to have more patience, to enter into the deeper understanding. of how people are choosing what they're choosing. Oh my gosh, they're a divine being having a human experience, and they have a different awareness than I do. They've had different experiences. Their compilation of memories are not mine. Mine helped form my awareness where I am right now. Theirs formed them. We're interrelating because we have like vibration. Until we reach a point where we grow and are no longer in resonance. And then we shift. That's why we enter into the life of others and we exit from the life of others. Sometimes abruptly, sometimes gracefully. It's all part of the life experience. It's all part of the wave, the expression of consciousness, experiencing itself as human in the bodies of which we are within our body temple, our sacred space that we as spirit are housed to have an experience so that we can grow in love. We can all ask ourselves, what is the one thing this world that we're experiencing now needs more than anything? It needs love. It needs love. Love is always the answer. Healing comes through love. It's the loving heart that opens to forgiveness. It's the loving heart that allows for the expression of compassion. Compassion, many people will confuse compassion with empathy and go, oh, I have compassion. I feel for them. That's empathy. Compassion, when we enter into compassion, true compassion, and there's always levels, okay? We can go deeper and deeper as we grow and experience ourself, our consciousness. But compassion is the understand when we're entering into the understanding that we are divine beings of light having a human experience, and that we're each here with a divine birthright to be free. We're each here to choose how we want to express our energy. We each are here to be free. We are not here to be anyone's puppet. We are not here to be anyone's band-aid. We are not here to be anyone's candy. We are not here to impress anyone. We're not here to be validated by anyone. We're not here for the pleasure of anyone. Can we enter into experiences where we exchange pleasure? Absolutely. And that's grand. Can we experience validation, helping one another and validating one another? Absolutely. That's grand. But that's not the purpose of why we're here. And we're not to take offense when someone does not validate us and think less of ourselves because we didn't get the validation. That's when we've done a disservice to that which we are. That's when we're out of alignment. That's when we're feeling bad. We're not feeling love. We're not feeling the expression of the true consciousness of that which we are. We're not in acceptance. We're in resistance. Resistance is the disobedience. Resistance is the pushback. Resistance never feels good. Acceptance, when we accept ourselves right where we are and we say, this day I did the best I could. Yeah, I had some, what I'll call my own self, because I'm the one that gets to review. I can say I've had some screw ups. And then I can say, okay, if I feel I've had some screw ups, let me go and rectify that right now, because it's from within me out to the field. So I get to make the shift because they're my creations. So if I've miscreated, then let me recreate. Before I end this day, before I go to sleep this night, before I put my head down on the pillow, let me go through the conversations I had this day and let me ask myself, did I show up in these conversations as love? Did I show up in truth? Did I speak my truth? Or did I show up out of alignment? Did I say yes when I meant no? Did I not say what I was feeling because I was afraid of how it would land? And if the answer is yes, then say, okay, now I'm going to, in my mind, see that conversation again, see the individual I had it with, and I'm going to hear the words coming out of my mouth that are that which I was to say, that I was feeling at that time. And I change it right then and there. And you change the energy. You are the one that created it. It's yours to decide whether it sits well with you or not. That's acceptance. Or whether or not you need to recreate. Now, the need to recreate doesn't mean that somebody's been bad. It just simply means that we recreate. We take the next moment and we experience it in a whole new way. And as we do that, we are releasing one another from our miscreations. That's a form of forgiveness. That's a higher frequency. That's a state of expansion. And that will draw to us the like energy. And that's as a charge to it, of which is empowering, uplifting, inspiring, and creative. And that's the field that we were designed to live within. That which is inspiring, empowering, creative expressions of love. That's who we are. And that's as we're learning and expanding in consciousness, we step into. So I want to take a moment when we return from our station break here to read something that was written years ago, because this keeps coming up, where the question is, how do I know the guidance that I'm receiving is true? How do I know that it's positive? How do I know? Because it's such a subtle feeling inside of me that I'm not being misdirected, or I'm not listening to my ego and not my higher guidance. And we're going to address that when we return from the station break. But right now we need to take a short break. So hang in there with me. See you real soon. Okay, welcome back. So, once again, this was something that I had written years ago, the stream of consciousness flowing to and through me, in response to the question about the need to feel pain or discomfort for growth, and how to know when you're experiencing true guidance. So the response is as follows. We ask you to allow this message to come forth to your heart. Yes, we are all here. We are all one with God, the creator of all. Yes, we are love. We are light. We are the light. We are all one. Dear one, the voice of oneness is that of love without conditions. Love abounds and is free to flow in and around all. It is not so that one must feel pain or discomfort to learn a lesson unless they make that choice. Messages given to guide and support are always free of judgment and expectations. Free of judgment and expectations. Guidance is the free flow of love, which is to be felt within, which causes a stir or call to action. It is not so at any time that one must feel pain or discomfort, as both conditions are of the mind. Love is not within the mind. It speaks to and through the heart of all. Now, this is not saying that people do not grow through pain. Some people do. That's their choice. It means that it doesn't have to be. It's a choice. So we need to understand that. Now, let us discuss pain as it is often related to change. When lessons are presented, they are given based on the need determined by the receiver. It is that the receiver who deems it necessary to enter into events or actions which hold the potentials for pain or discomfort to be present within them. It is not the purpose of any message from a higher source to cause one discomfort or pain, as a higher source is operating within the band of love frequencies. Remember, dear one, the decision to change or not to change any action or event lies only with you. So it would be you who would call forth the opportunity to experience what you wish to be. When one is calling forth an experience to seek change, it is for specific purpose, and guidance may be given to assist the individual in realizing their lesson. This is a process of expressing one's inner essence. And I'm going to just break for a moment here. And as somebody who is and has been a psychic reader for a long time, and people will call, and we all want to know, tell me what to do, tell me what my future is going to be, tell me, and we say, okay, let's tell you that you are the creator of this, and let's learn about how you create, and then let's learn about what you want to create so that you experience that. So that's the outcome. Let's assist you in understanding you so that you can be the best version of you here and now. So when we are getting a reading will say where we are at the specific moment. And it will say, okay, if we're continuing along this path, we have a trajectory and it looks like it's going to head this way. Is this what you really want? Is this the outcome that you want? For if you don't want this outcome, now's the time to shift. Now's the time to change the thoughts. Now's the time to head in a different direction. And that's what true readings provide. They provide the guidance, not the definitive way of which you are to do it. Those details belong to the individual, the receiver. That must be made as a distinction so that we do not give our power to someone. Because if we do, and like energy attracts like energy, somebody can really lead another astray. by giving them information that will cause more pain and discomfort. So know that. Okay? I just had to interject that. Just came up. It's the teacher in me. Guidance is to guide. It is never to determine a path, set a judgment, or look for a specific result. These are the workings of the mind and not the higher frequencies of the heart. When receiving messages, there are questions that all need to ask. Like to suggest for a few is, how does it feel? How does it feel? How does this message that I'm receiving feel? Now, many times someone can go to a reader or have someone give them some guidance, and they're in a resistance pattern. Not that the guidance that they're receiving is wrong or bad, but they're not ready to hear it yet, perhaps, and they resist it, they push it away. Oh, no, 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 that doesn't pertain. That's one experience. And then another experience is what I'm listening to is not feeling good. My stomach is starting to ball up here. I'm starting to not feel good. I'm starting to feel a little anxious. That's totally different. That's letting you know that it's not in resonance. Is the message empowering or disempowering? Does it give you the power? Does it let you know that it begins and ends with you, that you're the one to choose, that nothing is pressed upon you? Your freedom is never taken away in true guidance. Your freedom is always illuminated so that you see a clear path that you can walk freely in your own choosing. Now, who is empowered? The receiver or the messenger? That's a big one. Who's empowered, the receiver or the messenger? So if it's the messenger, it's those presenting the message. Are they trying to build themselves up and appear more than they are? Are they giving a false front, a facade, a scam? And that happens in our world in all areas. And it's for us to detect. It's our responsibility to be on guard, to protect ourselves. These are questions that are to be asked of all, serving as messengers, those of us that serves as messengers. Who is speaking? What is the purpose? Are the messages presented of truth, light of the creator of all? When one knows this to be so, then speak. So if you're a messenger, if you're out there doing readings for others or you're channeling for others, make sure you know who you are speaking with. Make sure that you are clear that this message feels good, that it's empowering, that it is of love. And if it's not, be very careful. Don't give it. I have seen throughout the years some very good messengers start to leave the track, so to speak, and jump on a different train based on deception. And if one is receiving messages or giving messages, and there's any sense of flattery involved, that's a major red flag. A major red flag. If someone is seeking to be in receipt of flattery, if they want to build up their sense of self, that's a very dangerous energy to be around. And it's not of a higher frequency. Adoration corrupts. If we have the need to be adored by those of which we are around, that's for us to say, okay, let me take some time and sit by myself and work through this. Let me tend to what needs to be healed within me so that I don't seek this from others around me. That's corrupted energy when we seek adoration. And it will take us off course. And then the messaging that we're receiving will not be clear. And it won't be our highest good. Masters teach. The teaching is always to train the student to seek within the temple of God. It rests within all. This is what is the greatest lesson. Walk within. This is where your messaging is 100% accurate. It is where you meet yourself within your power. There is never a need to give your power to another or to look to increase your power from without, as all are held safely within, waiting for you to behold what is true. So that means if we are in acceptance, that we are truly in acceptance, that we are a divine being of light, and we are here experiencing ourselves in a human form. We are always connected to the higher stream of consciousness, to that higher mind. Therefore, we can tune in at any time and receive any information that we may need. We all have the ability to do so. Some of us have tuned into it. Some of us came into this life to do this work. That's part of our journey. That's part of our path. And I like to think of that. I have a son who's a very natural born musician. He can play any instrument. He just picks it up and boom, he spends a couple of hours with it and he's playing it. He's so talented. He writes music. He reads music. He plays the guitar. He plays the flute. He plays the piano. He told me, a few years ago, he says, I think I'm going to take piano lessons. And he went and he started. And about 2 months later, he sends me a recording. And it's the beautiful classical music piece. And he said, what'd you think of it? And I said, oh, it was great. And I said, well, how are you doing playing the piano? He said, that was me. I said, that was you? He said, yeah. I said, oh my gosh. Wow. So I can't play at that level. That's not my ability, this experience. It's not what I came to do. But he did, and that's his. And then you ask yourself, what is yours? What is yours? What is your tone? What is your essence that you really shine within? And bring that forth. But each and every one of us can connect and absolutely is to learn that you can connect and actively start practicing. Practice through affirmative prayer. Affirmative prayer. Not the same as prayer when we're beseeching, when we're praying, we're asking for something. That's different. But affirmative prayer is affirming that you are divine, that you are one with the Creator, that God is within you. It's affirmative prayer. So you're affirming that which you are. You are within the flow of love, of life. Meditation, another action step to take. Holding within you, I am connected. I do receive true guidance. And I open up to experience that in whatever way it comes to me. Sometimes it may come. Some people hear voice audibly within their head. Many times I call it the booming voice, and it's usually when I'm not paying attention that I needs to get my attention. Many times it's a quiet voice. Many times it's just that feeling that I talked about in the beginning. It's just that feeling, that connection there. Sometimes it's through writing. I'll write. I'll sit down. I'll pick up a pen when I get the feeling to, and I'll write. But when I'm doing it, and I'm in that conscious awareness that this is the connection and it's flowing to and through me, then I receive. And then all of us receive in that way. So we are to open up to experience and say, okay, we talk about the higher self meaning that that's the part of us that has a greater knowing than we do in the physical life. But what if the higher self were here right now within you? What if you are your higher self having an experience? And what's stopping that experience is the lack of acceptance. That, oh my gosh, that's too great a thing to accept. Well, what if I open to that acceptance, then I get out of the way, and all of a sudden I experience from a higher perspective. I experience the essence of the higher self. I experience a greater knowing. All of a sudden now I start having these psychic experiences that I never had before. Or different things start opening up to me. Maybe I pick up a guitar and I know how to play a guitar and I never played a guitar before. That's a possibility. I know people that has happened to. Or they pick up a paintbrush and all of a sudden they're making these fabulous paintings and they never painted before. They're connecting with their higher self because they're allowing it. So when we release the resistance and we step into a sense of acceptance, we're allowing, we're open, we're expanding. And that's what we want to do. So we say these words to once again demonstrate that the path is always within. Be careful of the mind traps. It is with the greatest love that we present this lesson, as we are one with you, and you are one with us. We know pain and discomfort are of the mind. That's called illusion, Maya. And we seek to present our words to provide the tools to work within the heart, not the mind. Love, the voice of oneness. So knowing that we are all connected always. So then, as we are living our life now, we are within a choice point to decide whether or not we accept the division which exists within our world, or whether we choose oneness. Now, if we choose oneness, we can't wave a magic wand and make the division go away. Once again, we're not to trespass on another. If another is choosing separation, it is their right to do so. But it is our right to choose oneness. So it's up to us as individuals. No one can do it for us. We must make the choice. And as we make the choice to choose oneness, then we have to ask ourselves, as we're living our life, we have to do, excuse me, we have to do an assessment of our day, of the conversations we have, of the partnerships we enter into, of the experiences. How are we expressing our energy? Is it reflective of oneness, or is there divisiveness? Are we believing that there's a them and a me? Are we believing in the worldview, the status quo? Are we believing in what we're being told via the media, via the organizations, the corporations? Are we believing in division? Are we believing that we need to stand up and force our own views on another? Or are we choosing to just allow ourselves to live the life as we choose it and allow others to do the same? And as we enter into that, we are in acceptance. Acceptance that we are divine expressions, emanations of God, having a human experience. We're all in this game of life together. We're all going around the game board. We're at different positions on the game board. And we can't force anyone to move along quicker. So when we are believing that we want someone to behave in a certain way to make ourselves feel better, say, oops, I just caught myself. I'm out of alignment with love. Let me realign here. Let me shift this energy. Let me affirm that which I am and affirm that which my brother is. And when I say brother, I'm relating to brother as humanity. We're all brothers. Doesn't matter what sex we identify with, gender we identify with. Does that make sense? I hope it does. And I pray that we open our hearts and that more and more of us awaken, truly awaken to that we are one and we begin to live as one. We begin to claim unity consciousness here, right now on this earth. And as we do, things shift and the world starts to expand its consciousness. And it's happening. It is happening. As more and more of us start to awaken to our true calling. That true calling is to understand who we are. And when we ask that question of the self, who am I? That goes deep. Deep and deep and deep and deep. You go deeper and deeper. And you start to live a life that's truly free and one of which you experience peace and one of which you know that what's going on in the world around you is a necessary part of the expansion. We're not afraid of it. We welcome it. We say, bring it on. Because we are growing together. And I'm doing my part. I'm choosing to focus on my alignment with God, that which created me, and understanding that I am having this experience as a co-creator with the Creator. And I create from the field of love. And so it is. Thank you all for joining me. If you feel prompted to, and you'd like to talk about a specific topic on any upcoming podcasts, please email me at Aumara, Aumara, at voiceofoneness.com. And I will definitely create a podcast around the topics that you want. Courtney says, wow, that makes sense now that you said that. I am so glad, and I thank you for letting me know. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love to hear the feedback from you. Thank you, Luann. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm here for you. So if there's a topic that you want to discuss or something that you're grappling with in your own life experience, and you want to know how you can best work with the energy, ask and you shall receive. I will do a podcast on it. Okay? I'm open for discussion all the time. If you want to know more about me and the services that I offer, my website is voiceofoneness.com. And with that, I say good night. Thank you again. Have a beautiful evening and journey well in oneness. Blessings. Good night.
The truth is here and now on WLTKDB Talk Radio at WLTKDB.com.